Hello and welcome. My name is Mackenzie and I'm autistic and ADHDer, and this is my YouTube channel, Autistic Musings. On my channel, I spread autism awareness by explaining autistic terms, giving uniquely neurodivergent solutions to uniquely neurodivergent problems, and sharing my own personal experience as a neurodivergent person. Now, what are we doing this week? So last week I was reading out of the DSM-5 and explaining the criteria and the different manifestations for autism and what does it look like, and there's different expressions and manifestations of autism and we all look differently, so it's good to go over individual examples and everything so none of us get confused. And I made the video way too long last week. So I ended up having to post it in 2 parts due to my own editing difficulties. And this is going to be the second part that we're seeing here. I will put the first part above part 1. Dun, 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 dun. And you can click there if you haven't seen it and would like to see the first part. I feel like it wouldn't make sense with the second part here. Thank you for joining me and welcome back all my returning viewers and all the newcomers. Thank you. I don't get that. Why are we doing that? What's the function of Barbie? Help me. So I was not doing those role-playing games with my peers at all. I preferred to run off with the boys and camouflage there, where they had games that made sense to me, like soccer. You go and you kick the ball back and forth into the goal. Oh, thank God, that one made sense. There was rules. Yeah. So that was one there for me. Difficulties in making friends. Yes. Does not try to establish friendship. I tried. I failed miserably. Does not have preferred friends. I don't know what that means. If you don't have friends, how can you have preferred friends? Lack of a cooperative play. Parallel play only. Yeah. I'd read a book by you. I'd be in your area playing by you, playing with you. That took a long time for me. Like, I don't think I did that outside of like a sports game where the rules were laid out and structured until I was like 10, maybe after. Unaware of being teased or ridiculed by other children. Yes. I definitely did not realize that I was being picked on, and then would break down crying and being unable to explain why I was upset to the teacher. Yeah. Does not play in groups of children. I tried. I would float from social group to social group, but I couldn't really maintain a group of friends or play with the same group every time. Does not play with children his or her own age or developmental level. So there's a bit of a preference among autistic people for people that are older than them, relationship-wise. Like, they like older people or younger people, generally because the reciprocity and the dynamic is different. If you're older than the person, you kind of take a teacher or guide role. You are a teacher. You teach people. You guide them along. You help them out. It's a directing role. If you are younger, you take the student role, which you don't have to interact as much. You listen. This does not require the equal reciprocity that is required when you interact with your peers. So that's why they kind of mention that. I preferred adults as a child. They made sense. I knew my teachers better than I did my fellow classmates. Has an interest in friendship but lacks understanding of social conventions. Has an interest in friendship but lacks understanding of the conventions of social interaction. Extremely directive or rigid, overly passive. So, I'm in this category. I want to have a friend. I suck at social convention though. Highly introverted too. So you can have a desire to be a friend. Autistic people do desire company. It might be at a different level. It might be a certain way, but not all of us don't want to interact with people. Does not respond to the social approach of other children. I look back and realize that some people were approaching me and were trying to be my friends years later as adults, but I did not respond in kind. So I kind of missed out on opportunities, but what can I do? It's too late now. Absence of interest in others, lack of interest in peers, withdrawn, aloof, and own world, does not try to attack the attention of others, limited interest in others, unaware or oblivious to children or adults, limited interaction with others, prefers solitary activity. And this is the last symptom for the A3 column, but prefers solitary activities. That tends to be my issue. A lot of the activities I enjoy are single player, one player. Reading, cooking, it's my kitchen. I don't cook with others, it's my kitchen. All these activities that I tend to enjoy are like solitary activities. I do have a couple that are group ones, but it's not my preference. And as a child, I definitely had no activities that I enjoyed that were like involved other people at all. And I looked withdrawn from an outsider perspective because I was very school focused. And I thought that was the point of school. Like, I wasn't necessarily supposed to socialize. No, the main part is to learn, right? No, apparently not. Now we're on to category B, which is the part where I tell you, you do not need to hit all the symptoms for category B to be autistic. You need to set some form of all of the symptoms that I named, the 3 columns, not every one that I named. A couple of the one in each of the A columns that I went over that were super technical. Again, not all of them. You notice that I mentioned that because people get confused. If you don't check off a box, you're not autistic. That's not how that works. There's different manifestations of symptoms. And you notice that I didn't say that I had every single manifestation listed out here. I had definitely multiple from each category, but I didn't have all of them because people react differently to different difficulties and have personalities, and some people are introverted, some people are extroverted. Like, there's diversity. Now we're moving on to B column. B, which is restricted and repetitive patterns of behavior, interests, activities as manifested by at least 2 of 4 symptoms. Just 2. 2 of the 4. Oh my God, this is going to be so freaking long. It's going to be all that. Anyway. B1, this is one of the symptoms. Stereotyped or repetitive speech, motor movements, or use of objects such as simple motor stereotypes. They keep on saying this, but it means stems. So why don't I just insert that in? Stemming or repetitive speech, motor movements, or use of objects such as motor stems, movement stems, echolalia, repetitive use of an object, or idiosyncratic phrases. We like weird phrases. What? Anyway, what are example of this column? 1. How many manifestations are there? Too many to count. Anyway. Stereotyped or repetitive speech, pandemic speech, or unusually formal language. I sounded like an old grandma as a child. I was told that. I sounded like an old lady. I think the other day, or like a month or two ago, sister's like, you sound like an old man. Yeah. So when a child speaks, or an adult speaks like a professor or somebody highly academic and formal, like they don't do slang, no slang. I've only grown into slang recently. I used to be very, very formal as a child, and I still am sometimes. I sound like I'm 80 sometimes. Echolalia, immediate or delayed, may include repetitive use of words, phrases, or more extended songs or dialogue. How often do I say in my videos, people? Just saying. I do this. I definitely have phrases. I definitely have repetition going on. A lot of repetition. Jargon or gibberish. Mature jargon after development of 24 months. We know what gibberish is, right? Do I have to explain that? I'll put it in the comments if people don't know what gibberish is. I'll put it in the summary. Use of rote language. Quoting books. And adults and copying them. This means sounding like a tiny little adult because you copied all the adults and their language and you're quoting them by rote. This means just mimicking and copying, and the adult says, "Oh dear, put on your shoes, please." And you tell another child, "Oh dear, put on your shoes, please." And they look at you like you're insane. Like that type of thing. And larger words that make other adults look at you when you're a child like, "Are you 5? That can't be right." Idiosyncratic or metaphorical language that has meaning only to those who are familiar with the individual's communication style. What does this mean? So my brother primarily communicates in echolalia. This means that I know what he meant as a kid because I knew the phrases he used in certain situations, like when he was mad, when he was sad, all these emotional things. He had certain phrases from that. Everybody else, though, probably had no idea what he meant because he was using Disney quotes. It didn't occur to me that they didn't know because we were around them the most, so we knew those phrases. But many autistic people that have echolalia as the primary communication will use phrases, and other people in their immediate family or immediate care will know what they mean, but other people will be kind of confused. Pronoun reversal. For example, you for I, not just mixing up gender pronouns. So I mixed up genders. I was always not knowing who was he or she or he. I knew it was offensive after I did it a few times. I was like, oh, I'm not using those terms again. I keep on offending people. I didn't know. But yes, I will use the you and I and mix them up when I'm really relaxed and talking with somebody I know very well and trust. I'll start to default in my old language patterns and use the wrong pronoun. Refers to self by name. Yes, Kinsey does that sometimes. Perseverative language. Perseverative language. This means, I'm so hot right now. Ugh. Oh my God, this is going to be an hour. I hope somebody watches this all the way through. If you do, you're just a boss. You're my favorite. But I'm giving all these examples so everybody knows that there's multiple, and maybe it was a bit ridiculous. I hope somebody watches it all the way through and it was helpful to somebody. Repetitive vocalizations such as repetitive guttural sounds, intonation making, unusual squealing, and repetitive humming. Yes, I like to hum and do funny mouth noises. Yeah, I really like this one. sounds like a cat. I love cats. But there's lots of other noises. Yes. And, ooh, I have a hair there. But anyway, lots of repetitive vocalizations or mouth sounds, such as guttural noises, squealing, humming, singing. Yay, repetitive singing. I'm going to use stereotyped, which stemming, or repetitive motor movements, clapping, finger flicking, flapping, twisting. Stereotypes are whole, rocking, dipping, swaying, spinning, the full body stems. Abnormalities in posture, toe walking, heel walking, full body posturing, crouching. Yes, all these intense body tensing. Ooh, yes. Oh, I've seen that one before. Unusual facial grimacing. This means, yeah, that face. Excessive teeth grinding. Repetitively puts hands over ears in response to sound. Consider before. That means that this can be another thing. They're probably talking about sensory stuff. I did this today because there was a train passing by. While I was in my therapy session, we were doing a walking session because I was feeling brave and I needed to move around, and a train passed by and it made this horrible, horrible metal on metal sound that was, and I plugged my ears and I was like, oh no. But there's an example right there. Perceptive or repetitive actions, play or behavior. I'm a repetitive person. A lot of autistic people are. We do the same thing over and over. It's part of the routine. Some of us love it. Repetitive picking, using clear tactile sensory components, then consider before. They keep on referencing the sensory thing. We're not even there yet. It's going to be like an hour on here. It's going to be ridiculous. Oh my God. Anyway. Stereotyped stemming or repetitive use of objects. This is non-functional play with objects, waving sticks and dropping items. I'm not sure about the non-functional play. If I found it fun, wasn't it play? They say some autistic people play wrong. I'm pretty sure they're wrong. Just saying. Lining up toys. I like to line up my stuffed animals. They're all supposed to go in a neat little line. When I was a kid, I had them all lined up across the side of my bed. Yeah. And a lot of autistic girls, they like to use the example of lining up all their dolls and dressing them up, but not actually doing an imaginary play with them. We're just setting up a scene. Repetitively opens and closes doors. Oh, that's one? Okay, I did do that. Repetitive turns lights on and off. That one's fun too. We're to be too. Oh my God, if you have stuck around this long, again, I just am so impressed with all of you. So impressed. I'm going over all of this because you noticed how the types of manifestations are very, very long, and it does not look like one stereotyped person, like a little boy playing with trains. It doesn't look like that. That's not what autism looks like. Okay? Could be a little girl reading a book and not knowing how to talk to her peers. It also can be a very good social camouflaged girl who does very well but has no idea what's really going on, but could pretend. Now we're to B2, the excessive adherence to routine, ritualized patterns of verbal and nonverbal behavior, and excessive resistance to change, such as motoric rituals, insistence on same routine or food, repetitive questioning, or extreme distress to small changes. Now, Here are the examples of each of these. Adherence to routine. Routine, specific, unusual, multi-step sequences of behavior insistent on a rigid following of specific routines. Noted, exclude bedtime routines unless components or level adherence are atypical. So every morning I get up and I go to the bathroom, then I go get my coffee because it is life, then I put on my headphones, and then I go pace and listen to loud music for approximately an hour, and I need to do an hour. I feel very, very wrong. Routine! Isn't it beautiful? And as a kid, there was multiple things going on there. Very multiple. Ritualized patterns of verbal and nonverbal behavior, repetitive questioning about a particular topic. How about every topic? And particular topics. But I was a questioner. I was like, why, all the time. I wanted to know why everybody was doing everything, and no one would answer me. But anyway, verbal rituals comes over the ritual patterns too. Verbal rituals has to say or one or more things in a specific way, or requires others to say or answer questions in a specific way. Oh, this is me too. I get very upset on the inside now when people don't follow what I was told, the pattern of ritual greetings of, even though I don't like how are you, but I know somebody's being rude by not asking me. And I like a sequence. I get thrown off when people don't follow the sequence and they do things out of order, even though I don't even like what we're doing. You did it out of order. How dare you? Compulsions, insistence on turning in circles 3 times before entering a room is an example. Compulsions, note. So, note, repetitive use of objects, including line-up toys, should be considered under here. Compulsions to do stuff before you do other stuff, like something needs to be done first. I think I have a couple of these, but not a lot. A lot of autistic people have more of these. I've heard many of them say they have a lot. Oh, and also it's seems to be worse among the people that have a comorbid OCD diagnosis. Now we're on to excessive resistance to change. Difficulty with transitions. I hate transitions. They're stupid. That was me, but it's true. Difficulty with transitions should be out of the range of what is typical for children of that developmental level. So as an adult, if you're still having an issue in transition, like your brain resists and you hate being interrupted with tasks because it is so hard to get your brain to go back to the task at hand. You cannot be interrupted in this task. If you are interrupted in this task, it may be the end of the task. Do not interrupt. We do not want to transition. And I don't want to transition to this activity that I don't want to do. Or I do want to do, but I can't start. I must transition. It takes me like an hour or more, or sometimes it doesn't get done. I don't like transition. That's a thing. And I'm very bad at it. I don't do well. Overreaction. I don't like that phrase. Overreaction to trivial changes. Moving items at dinner table or driving an alternate route. Okay, I know what they mean here. So when I know to go to a certain place, and what way do I take, I go the same way every time. Once I find the route, I go the same way every time. Why would I go a different way? Why? I've always done this. I didn't put it under there before, but I guess. I did this in school too. One way to the classroom. Even if it ended up taking me a longer route and it took me longer to walk there, it was the right way, okay? It was the right way. So overreaction, trivial change. We don't like to go different directions, like really attached to the way that you go places. Moving items in the house is one of this too. I have cried because somebody has moved a table before. Not my proudest moment, but that happens. Rigid thinking, inability to understand humor. Yes. Some people's humor confuses me. It seems to be making fun of people, but I'm unsure how this is supposed to be funny. I like observational humor though, but it's taken me a while. My humor is not for everybody. It's usually observational. Rarely do I find the making fun of people humor in any way. I didn't find it funny before. I only find it funny when it's cartoons that are hurting each other. Only cartoons. Because they're not really people, they're cartoons. Inability to understand non-literal aspects of speech, such as irony or implied meanings. Yes, I have this issue. A lot of things are misnamed, too. I don't like that. Can't we just give everything the literal name? So non-literal aspects of speech, they're referring to metaphors or euphemisms, the enemy. Non-literal is the enemy because my mind goes strange places. One guy recently told me that he was talking about progress on a project and he was talking about eating an elephant, taking a bite out of an elephant. I have to put the quote below. I was like, what does that mean? I imagined somebody eating an elephant. I don't get it. Ugh. Excessively rigid, inflexible, or rule-bound behavior or thought. I like rules. Rules make me happy. Structure makes me happy. I was a tattletale. I like to follow the rules. I was a rule follower. I'm still a rule follower. I like to follow the rules. I think they should be followed. I know this is not always the best because some rules were not actually made for a purpose in mind. They're just there to be there. But strange thought. I didn't realize that till I'm an adult. But yes, I was a very rule-bound kid. I was very obedient. They said not to do that. Why are you doing that? I was the tattletale. And the all good black and white thinking kind of falls under that area too. Oh my God, this video is going to be an hour. I gotta stop. Keep going. B3, highly restricted, fixated interests that are abnormal intensity or focus, such as strong attachment or preoccupation with an unusual subject, excessive or pervasive interests. Special interests, preoccupation, obsession, interest are normal in intensity, narrow range of interest, focused on the same few objects, topics, or activities. Yes. All of these. Preoccupation with numbers, letters, or symbols. Letters! They're so pretty. Look at the words. Being overly perfectionistic. Yes. Interests are abnormal in focus. Yes. Excessive focus on non-relevant or non-functional parts of an object. But they're parts of an object. Anyway. Preoccupations with examples, colors, timetables, historical events, etc. Historical events are fun. Attachment to unusual animate objects. Pieces of string, rubber band, string, fuzzy string. Having to carry around or hold specific or unusual objects, not common attachment objects such as blankets and stuffed animals. I did not have this one, but I have most of these. Unusual fears. Example, afraid of people wearing earrings. Unusual fears. I was scared that sharks in the pool were gonna eat me. So when I was like 8, somebody showed me Jaws, and apparently I thought all water was terrifying, and considering at a certain point I literally jumped into the water when I didn't know how to swim because I wanted to go in with my siblings. That was a strange reaction. That was an unusual fear. We jumped real quick. Nobody should have showed me scary movies. But anyway, I'm laughing at myself. The last one. We're almost there. Oh my God. Oh my God. Hypo or hyper reactivity to sensory input or unusual interest in sensory aspects of environment, such as apparent indifference to pain, heat, or cold, adverse reactions to specific sounds or texture. Mayo and textures of condiments are terrible. Sounds or textures, excessive smelling or touching of objects, fascination with lights or spinning objects. So many. So as you can see, this particular category is very diverse because any autistic person could, yes, they could not have this. They could not have any sensory issues. This could not be in there because you notice that the above, it said, you only need 2 of these to qualify. So again, you could have an otter to have it at all. No sensory issues at all. I'm a touch jealous of you, just a little. But this means you could also have hyposensitivity and not register certain things like pain, temperature, and be oblivious to them because they're not registering to your sensory senses. Or you could have hypersensitivity, which means it feels like too much certain textures on my body, and I don't like them, which makes me very picky about my clothes, and I really like soft textures. They're very distracting because they feel extra nice to me, and this is some of mine, but some other autistic person might not have those issues, or might find more visual sensitivities or hyposensitivities or many things. Like, this is a whole category of its own that I need to make a separate video for. And if you have stayed this long, you're amazing. This also accounts for extra sensitivity to food, which causes many people to think some of the autistic people are picky, but it's really that they're just registering as completely overwhelmed by that taste or underwhelmed. Many things going on there. I will have to do a separate video for this, but all of these symptoms that I just mentioned, where you have to have 2 of the B categories and all 3 of the A categories, these symptoms must be present in early childhood. Yes, very early childhood. Kinsey exhibited these symptoms, maybe even more obviously than I do now, but may not become fully manifested until social demands exceed limited capacity. High school is terrible, and so is puberty. This is when social demands become extreme, and I fell apart. Early primary symptoms together, limited or impaired everyday functioning. Yeah. So this means that these symptoms must be present throughout your entire life, and may have become very obvious when your social demands exceeded your threshold, and you could no longer meet them. If you have stayed during this whole video, I thank you, because you are committed and obviously a fan, and I appreciate you. Shoot in the comments below if you made it to this point in the video. I will do a shout out to you on my next video, because this was insanely long. I hope to see you next week on Autistic Musings, and if you liked this video, thumbs up. Subscribe to my channel. If this was the one you liked, you will like the other stuff, and you will not have to stick around for a whole hour. Thank you so much. Bye.